Now we're going to try it. Apply what you just learned about finding areas to the following problem. Show your work on a separate piece of paper, please. Write and solve, you can show it here if you want to. Write and solve an equation to find the area of the figure below. The area meaning the arrow in red, as you can see. I'm going to pause this. If I were you, I would pause this video right now, work on it, and then check your answers. I will give it to you. Hopefully now you have the answer. I will reveal it right now, and if you got 12 square inches or 12 inches squared, you are correct. Let's look at this for those who need help with this. First off, so when you look at this base, the length of this base is 4 inches. The height of this triangle is 2 inches, as you can see right here. Since this is 4 inches, the whole graph here, I should say, is 6 inches. Therefore, this is 2 inches. We're missing 2 inches on this. And therefore, they didn't write the formula. I'm hoping you did, but the formula is area equals 1/2 times base times height. The base is 4 inches. We just showed you why. The height's 2. When you do the math, 8 times 1/2, the answer here will be 4. So the area here will be 4 inches squared. And then you look at this rectangle. Let me do a different color here so you guys can see this clearly, hopefully. You got the 4, right? 4 inches by 2 inches. And to find area of a rectangle, it's length times width. So 4 inches and 2 inches will make it 8. And then obviously 4 plus 8 will give you 12. Just don't forget, it's 12 squared inches because we're dealing with area. Now we have a little bit more of a challenging problem. It makes you think a little bit. Alright, it says here, read the problem below, then use what you learned about calculating area to solve the problem. The figure below shows a plan for a new town park. Park management is going to plant grass in the shaded area at a total cost of $2.50 per square foot. As you can see, it says the 4 triangles removed from the corners are all the same size. There's the triangles, okay, that are removed from the corner. Okay, how much will this project cost? There's multiple ways of solving this problem. Again, I would pause this video. I would work on this. If you want to Zoom with someone else or Google with someone else, then you should, and that way you can check your answers and stuff. I will give you the answers very soon. Think about the things you can do with this. You can create lines here. This actually becomes a trapezoid. You have the formula sheet. If you know how to find the area of a trapezoid, then you should do that. Find the area of these trapezoids. Okay, you can see the length here is 70. The length of the whole thing here is 90. Length here is 80 feet, and the whole thing is 120 feet. That's one way of doing that. Obviously, another way of doing that is just finding, first of all, the area of the whole rectangle, which is 90 by 120. Okay, and then you can find the area of each of the triangles. What's the measurement here? What's the measurement here? If you know the measurement of this base and you know the measurement of this height, you'll be able to find the area of that triangle and then multiply by 4. Think. Here's some great questions to help you find the answers. The answer, I should say, to the question. So look at picture it, okay, how can you find out the base and height of the triangles? I'm going to give you the answers very soon. How can you figure out the length and width of the smaller rectangles? Okay, let S represents the shaded region. Write an equation that can be used to find the area of the shaded region in terms of A, B, and C. What is the area? Show your work. And what is the total cost of the project? Show your work. So let's look at this. Okay. Think about that for a sec. I can find the base by subtracting 80 feet from 120 feet and taking half to get 20. Okay, I can find the height by subtracting 70 feet from 90 feet and taking half to get 10. If you're not sure where the half comes from, think about that. Okay, there's the 120, the whole thing, right? It's 120. And I subtract 80, therefore I have 40. And the reason you find half of this, divide by 2, is because there's two sides. 1, 2. Okay, and then they did the same thing to these bases, or you can call them heights. 90 minus 70 is 20. But then you divide by 2 because, again, there's two sides. 1, 2. So each side here will be 10 feet, right? And each side here will be 20 feet, correct? 20 plus 80 is 100 plus 20 is 120. There it is. 10 plus 70 is 8. 80 plus 10 is 90. There it is. So hopefully that was helpful on how they got the 20 by 10. And then I would actually draw that out and draw that little triangle just like that. Okay, we know this is 20 and this is 10. Right? So for the second question, how can you figure out the length and width of the small rectangles? Well, one side is given, 70 feet. The other side is the same length as the base of the triangle, which is 20 feet. So again, so one side of it is given, 70, and the other side is the same length as the base of the triangle, 20 feet. And it says, how can you find out the length and width of the small rectangles? This is, again, one way of solving it. But let me show you what they mean on that one. What they mean here is obviously one side's given right here, which is 70. Okay, everybody see that? And if I was to draw, like we did earlier, I mean, we call them a trapezoids, which you can also find. But what they did, or they mean about the small rectangles, is they closed this. Okay, they closed this. All right, and then you have the two smaller rectangles. There's the rectangle here and the rectangle here. So basically, if this is 70, what's the length here? And we did that before. We know it's 20. Okay, and we know that that's 20, and that's what they were saying here, as you can see. So what they're saying here is they're saying let S represents the shaded region, and then write an equation that could be used to find the area of the shaded region in terms of A, B, and C. So they said 4 times A, so if you notice, the A will be the triangles, right? I mean, if we go back here, all right, this will be the A, and A. And since there's 4 of them, that's why you do 4 times A. And then the B, okay, would be the middle. And then the 2C, as you can see here, it says 2C. There's the 2 small rectangles. Okay? So here's my equation. And now basically, solve them. How would you find the area? We gave it to you. Alright, base times height divided by 2. Okay, let's see what they got. They said show your work. 2 times 10 is 200. Divided by 2 is 100. So each area of the small triangle is 100 times 4 because there's 4 of them. For the base, for the area in the middle, the rectangle, they got 7200 because it's 80 times 90, right? 80 times 90. And 80 times 90 is 7200. Okay, and then the last one is 70 times 20. Remember, this is 20. Okay, which will equal 1400 times 2, because there's 2 of them. When you add them all up and you do the math, you get, and yeah, so you get 10,400 feet squared. So now the question is, what is the total cost of the project? A lot of kids, they stop here and they think they got the answer. All right, all you have to do is reread the question again and see exactly what they asked. So they asked, remember, at a total cost of $2.50 per square foot, we found how many square foot there are in total. It says, how much will this project cost? So think about what you would do at the end with that $2.50 times the square feet. And when you do the math, you get $26,000. So hopefully that's what you got. Here's another version of what they did to show you. All right, read through this. I will read this with you. To find the cost, you need to know the area to be covered with grass. There it is, B. To find this area, you can separate the shaded figure into rectangles and triangles. There are 4 right triangles that are all the same size, labeled A. We just did that. There's one larger rectangle labeled B. As you can see, there are 2 small rectangles that are the same size, labeled C. Solve it. You can find the area of each part using the formulas for areas of triangles, which we did. And there it is. Area equals 1/2 times 10 times 20. You know where that 10 came from in the 20. If you don't, go back in the video. You'll find it. Equals 100 square feet. The area of B is 80 times 90. If you're not sure where the 90 came from, or the 80, again, you can go back and see 7,200 square feet when you multiply it. And then there's area C, 70 times 20. And again, if you're not sure where these numbers came from, go back in the video. 1,400 square feet, and then they added them. So there's another way of solving this, and that's why they gave you another question to that problem. And it says, let D represents the area of each corner triangle. Write and solve an equation to find the shaded area by subtracting. So basically, the reason for this question is to see if you can solve this question multiple ways or a different way. So watch what they did. Or I should say, before I do that, I would pause the video and see if you can figure out how to solve this. And yeah, and then once you're on pause, obviously I'll go to the next question, or show you. Excuse me. So now I'm going to show you what they did. So one of the possible equations that they came up with, they said let S equal the shaded area. All right, that's obviously the answer itself. You can see the answer is the same. Okay, and basically they said let T equal the total area of the outer rectangle. So if you look back, the outer rectangle is the whole thing, which is 120 by 90. Sorry for the not so straight line. So when you have the 120 by 90, there it is. Okay, and you subtract that from, first of all, let me do this. See inside the brackets here? This is the area of each triangle. If you remember, we did that earlier. And then times 4, because there's 4 of them. When you do the math, this is what you get. So hopefully you guys got that. Then they give you one more question. Let's go over this question for a sec. Use what you just learned to find the area of the figure below. Show your work on a separate sheet of paper. Obviously, if you want to show it on your Google Drive, etc., you can. It says, write and solve an equation to find the area of the hexagon at the right. Label the regions that you use in your equation. So obviously, as you can see, there's multiple ways of doing this, but they drew some lines here. And again, pause the video, solve it, and see if you can come up, if you came up with the same answer we're about to give. So here's what they did. They wrote, first of all, the answer, the area of this hexagon is 66 centimeters squared. Let's see step by step what they did. So they said area equals 2m. If you noticed, they labeled these as m. And this looks like what shape? Okay. Okay, we got a rectangle. And then they got the 4n. And each n, let me do a different color here. I apologize for that. Each n is a triangle. Okay, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4 of those. Okay, and then they did the math. So let's look at the rectangle. There's 2 of them, and you do 4.5, because that's 4.5 centimeters, right? Times 4, times 4. Okay, if this whole thing is 8, half of it is 4. Okay, and then they did the math there, plus the 4. Remember, 4 triangles, and the area of a triangle is 1/2 times base times height. So the base is 3 3/4, and the height is 4. We know the height is 4 because of the rectangle. The question is, how do you think they got 3 3/4 here? Well, let's look at that. Well, if the whole thing here is 12 centimeters, can you see that? It says 12. And this length here is 4.5 centimeters. Therefore, how many centimeters are these two? Okay, when you do them out, you would do the 12 minus the 4.5, and then when you subtract them, you get 7.5. Okay, remember, what do you do after the 7.5? These two in total is 7.5. So you divide them by 2. And when you divide by 2, you get 3 3/4. Now, if you're struggling with, how to take 12 minus 4 1/2, I would go to the video, which I will make, and you have it in Personal Tutor, how to add and subtract fractions, whole numbers, etc. So once you do that and you do the math, you get as an area of 66 centimeters squared.